Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This week we are talking about Legion of Three Worlds, which is a spin-off of Final Crisis that has almost nothing to do with Final Crisis. The 5-issue miniseries is written by Geoff Johns with art by George Perez and follows 3 different Legion of superheroes from different time periods, all teaming up together alongside Superman to face a villain known as the Time Trapper and also a familiar villain called Superboy Prime, who becomes the leader of a group of supercriminals. I've been anticipating this event for a while and have been kind of dreading it because of the fact that there are 3 Legion of Superheroes in this event. Not just 1, 3, which is insane. The Legion of Superheroes alone, just one group, there's so many characters, so having to deal with 3 of them, I'm scared of how overstuffed this book is going to be and how hard it's going to be to explain everything. The reason that there are 3 different Legion of Superheroes is because DC has had such a long history and so many reboots that a group of superheroes from the future kept changing with every reboot. So originally, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Legion of Superheroes were a group of superheroes from the future that Superman met when he was a kid, because he was called Superboy. He joined them, became friends with them, and ever since then they had occasional adventures together up to when he was an adult. When Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, that part of Superman's life, him being Superboy and joining the Legion of Superheroes, was retconned out of history. So DC had to come up with a new Legion of Superheroes that would fit with this new Superman's timeline. And that's how we ended up with the 1993 version of the Legion of Superheroes. Then in 2004, the Legion of Superheroes were rebooted once again in the Titans Legion crossover special. And then in 2008 or 2007, Geoff Johns and Brad Meltzer brought this group of Legion of Superheroes back into present day comics. They brought them back in the Lightning Saga, which I covered a few weeks ago, and the Lightning Saga has culminated in this miniseries, Legion of Three Worlds. So we have the pre-Crisis Legion of Superheroes, the 93 Legion of Superheroes, and the 2004 Legion of Superheroes, all teaming up in this miniseries. The last time we saw Superboy Prime was during Countdown to Final Crisis, where he became Superman Prime and was destroying Earths to try and find the perfect one. I think that will be completely ignored by Johns going into this miniseries. We'll find out. But with all that out of the way, let's just get straight into the Legion of Three Worlds. I'm going to do my best to keep track of everybody because there's going to be a lot of characters. And the way I'm going to do that is, unless a member of the Legion of Superheroes does something important, I will not name them, because there's just too many names to keep track of. I think that's the best way to do this without getting in over my head. Let's do this. The story begins at the end of time with the Time Trapper, who has tried multiple ways to get rid of the Legion of Superheroes. All of them have failed, and so now he has come up with one final plan, which is to grab Superboy Prime and send him to the Legion of Superheroes time, which is the year 3008 AD. In Smallville, Kansas, we see what is a flipped version of Superman's origin, where an old couple named Mara and Jun who are supposed to be like Martha and John, are having breakfast. They are terrible people. They hate aliens. They're very xenophobic. And then something crashes in their backyard. So John grabs his gun. Like, damn aliens, it was one of them that did this. It's gotta be. And he runs over to the crash site and immediately fires on what he thinks is an alien. And he is right, it is an alien. But it's an alien he shouldn't be firing at because it's Superboy Prime. He has landed in Smallville, Kansas. It's like, that wasn't very nice. Now I'm not gonna be nice either. It's Superboy. And then he just obliterates them with his heat vision. He's like, I'm not Superboy. I'm Superman. Why doesn't anyone ever listen to, hey? And then he sees a sign which says, welcome to Smallville, home of Superman. And this is where Superboy Prime slowly realizes that the future praises Superman. And they've built an entire museum around him. So he visits this museum, sees all these statues of Superman everywhere, and then he accidentally activates a Jimmy Olsen hologram who starts taking him on a tour throughout the Superman museum, showing him different versions of Jimmy Olsen. He also shows him the time that Superman became Nightwing and Jimmy Olsen became Flamebird. And during this tour, Superboy is just incredibly petty, where he sees Superman and is like, oh, he was an ugly baby. And also he gets annoyed at Jimmy Olsen and tries to punch the hologram, but because it's a hologram, he can't touch it. And then he gets introduced to the Legion of Superheroes and their history with Superman, where they were all inspired by Superman, and he starts talking about the history of the Legion of Superheroes, specifically a guy named R.J. Brand, who had funded the Legion of Superheroes for many years, but then one day mysteriously disappeared. As he is looking around, Superboy suddenly sees something that catches his eye, and so he continues flying through the museum, and as he's flying through the museum, one of the security guards sees him, and he's like, what the hell is that? We gotta send some guards down there, somebody's flying around. Superboy Prime sees the supervillain section of the Superman Museum, where he sees Luthor, Doomsday, Brainiac, but then something else catches his eye in the far back. He's like, what's that? And he sees a statue of himself. And this part's pretty funny. Jimmy Olsen just calls him a straight up loser. He says, oh, there's Superboy Prime. Nobody really remembers him. Nobody cares about him. He got the crap beat out of him by all these heroes many different times, including this guy known as Sodom Yut. And then nobody ever really saw him again. Nobody cared. Superboy Prime's just like, that's a lie. None of this BS happened. And he starts flying around the museum, destroying everything, all of the statues. He sees statues of Connor Kent, the other Superboy, and that pisses him off too, because he killed Connor. He's like, I killed you, and yet there's statues of you everywhere in here, but not me? That's not gonna fly. The security guards come in and try to get him to calm down. Superboy freezes all of them, walks past them. He's like, I won't be shoved into a storage closet like that mannequin. It's not fair. And then he stamps the ground, shattering all of the security guards. It's never been fair. As he continues destroying the Legion of Superheroes statues, Jimmy Olsen points out that there is a prison planet where all of the Legion of Superheroes villains are kept. And this piques Superboy Prime's interest. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, the United Planets Council has a meeting about the Legion of Superheroes. There's so much xenophobia going on Earth that they feel that the Legion of Superheroes shouldn't exist anymore. We don't need them anymore because they're not doing anything. The Legion of Superheroes have been trying to stop xenophobia for years, and they are failing because it still exists. So they're like, if the xenophobia still exists, what is the point of the Legion of Superheroes? And we have Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl representing the Legion of Superheroes, and Lightning Lad is pissed off because they've been saving lives for so many years, and now the United Planets are just going to discard them like it's nothing. Meanwhile, in the Phantom Zone, Phantom Girl, Lightning Lass, and Shadow Lass are all fighting against phantom versions of General Zod and his forces in order to save Mon-El, another member of the Legion of Superheroes who has been trapped inside the Phantom Zone and has turned into a phantom. Brainy is trying to get them out of the Phantom Zone. He succeeds, but when he pulls them out, General Zod almost escapes. However, Lightning Lass is able to destroy the Phantom Zone device, shutting him back inside, and it pisses Brainy off because he's like, I could have just turned it off. You didn't need to destroy it. Because he was turned into a phantom, Mon-El's DNA had returned back to normal briefly, and he ingested some lead, so he was getting lead poisoning. So Brainy quickly gave him a little bit of medication to deal with that. And they save his life, and then Lightning Lass asks about Sunboy, saying that Sunboy could use his powers to get Mon-El back to strength really fast, and Brainy states that Sunboy's in no condition to help anyone. The reason why is because Sunboy has lost his powers. His friend, one of his close friends, Polar Boy, goes to visit him, and Sunboy is like, you've seen what the United Planets have been saying about us and what Earth has been saying about us. It's over for the Legion of Superheroes. I have no powers, and it's over for me as well. Things continue to heat up at the United Planets Council until a person in a cloak reveals themselves to be R.J. Brand, the same one that went missing. And he jumps down to meet with the Legion of Superheroes and reunite with them, and he's supposed to be their crutch for succeeding in this argument. And so he starts giving a speech to the United Planets Council. Meanwhile, Superboy Prime continues to learn of the prison holding the Legion of Superheroes villains, and while he's learning about this, we see flash forwards of him visiting the prison planet and destroying it in search of an evil version of the Legion of Superheroes, because they have evil doppelgangers led by Lightning Lord, Saturn Queen, and Cosmic King. And Superboy Prime wants to recruit them so that they can help him destroy the Legion of Superheroes. While Brand is giving his speech, another person reveals themselves who was wearing a cloak. This person is Leyland Macaulay. He is Brand's rival, and he just shoots and kills Brand, getting revenge against him. Satin Girl uses her telepathy on Brand to see his final thoughts, which tell her to not quit, to tell the Legion of Superheroes not to quit. And then he turns back into a Durlan, because this entire time, Brand was never human. He was a Durlan the whole time, which is crazy. And then things start to escalate when the police arrive so that they can take in Macaulay and also interrogate the Legion of Superheroes. They're going to need to talk to them. So Cosmic Boy is like, no, we can't let you do that. You're not taking us in or anything. We haven't done anything wrong. And then Macaulay starts deteriorating. It's like, no, I was supposed to be young again. He deteriorates into nothing. It's pretty horrifying. And we see an image of the Time Trapper. He was obviously behind this. Word of Brand's true identity begins to circulate throughout the universe. The Legion then gather to figure out what they're going to do now that Brand is dead, and they decide that they can't give up. They have to do something. They need to prove the Council wrong. And that's when the Legion suddenly gets a distress call. They see something so alarming that they need to get Superman's help. Superman in the present day is flying in Metropolis City. His Legion ring suddenly goes off, and he travels to the future to meet with the Legion of Superheroes, where he sees an image of the prison planet with the Superman symbol on it, and the Legion explains to him that a younger version of him had arrived in Kansas and destroyed the whole place, the Superman Museum and the prison, and Superman explains that it is Superboy Prime, an evil version of him, and that they are going to need help in order to take him down, because it's not easy to stop him. And that's when Brainiac comes up with an idea. He says, hey, why don't we recruit these 2 other Legion of Superheroes that we know about from different Earths? So we got this one, and then we got this one. And Superman's like, it's not going to be that simple. I don't think we should destroy Superboy Prime. I think the best course of action is to redeem him. We need to reach out to him. We need to find the boy inside that helped me save the universe during the first crisis. We need to redeem Superboy Prime. Just further proof that Superman is always willing to see the good in others, and that is his greatest fault. Will it backfire on him? We'll find out. A member of the Legion of Superheroes known as the White Witch is being held by one of their villains called Modru, so a couple of Legion of Superheroes go to save her, Wildfire, Block, and Dawnstar. They find her in Modru's prison, they grab her, they all fly out to go and meet with another member that they've brought with them, who is the last Green Lantern. His name is Rond. He's outside fighting against Modru, who is a master of magic. He summons a whole bunch of dead creatures. They all start fighting these Legion members. While the fight is going on, suddenly something catches everybody's attention as Superboy Prime and his Legion of Supervillains appear in the sky. Dawnstar immediately realizes that this is bad news and they need to get White Witch out of there and back to the rest of the Legion. And Superboy Prime is like, oh, just watch this, okay? You're about to see Legionnaires die in ways you've never seen before. And I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be talking to us, the reader. He's breaking the fourth wall here. Meanwhile, the Legion of Superheroes argue over whether or not they should redeem Superboy Prime. Lightning Lad is against it. Cosmic Boy is for it. And Lightning Lad is just like, why are you putting everything on your shoulders? And Rock is like, because I have to. I put everything on my shoulders so that you don't have to, so that you all can live a regular life. I give up all my relationships and everything for you. And Lightning Lad's like, oh, I'm sorry, Rock. I forgot that you did that. Rond decides to face Superboy Prime and his Legion alone so that his friends can get to safety. So White Witch creates a rift that they can travel through while Rond stays behind and fights the Legion of Supervillains. And he does a pretty good job. As White Witch reunites with the rest of the Legion, we get to see Rond's fight with the Legion of Supervillains as he faces every single member. They soon start to overpower him, and eventually he is grabbed by Superboy Prime. And Superboy's like, you can't use your ring if you don't have any fingers. And he breaks Rond's hand. And then one of them is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't kill him because Rond is the son of Universo, who is one of the Legion's villains. And Universo is like, you can kill him. I don't really care about him. I just care about the ring. And Rond is like, the ring is never gonna be yours. Ever. And then Superboy Prime snaps Rond's neck and drops his body to the ground. The ring flies off of Rond's finger and away from Universo. He's like, no, it's supposed to be mine, stop it! It leaves the planet and flies off into space. Modru doesn't want to be ordered around by a kid, but he is eventually convinced to go along with Superboy Prime's plans, and they even create their own little rings. They create their own little super villain Legion rings, which is kind of funny. He puts a little S on them. It's a little cute, but also at the same time, Superboy Prime's killed millions. He's problematic. After seeing Ron's death, Lightning Lad is like, hey, you still want to redeem Superboy Prime, Superman? And then Brainiac 5 comes up with a plan. Like, I've got an idea. Because I'm so smart. He's constantly bragging about how smart he is. We see Ron's ring fly through space. It eventually lands on Oa, or what remains of it, and a mysterious being grabs the ring and then adds it to a pile of rings. The Legion head to the remains of the Justice League's headquarters, where they find a crystal ball that has the essence of the multiverse in it, and it'll be the way that they will contact the other two Legion of superheroes. The Legions of Two Worlds, as they call them. Polar Boy, Dawnstar, and Wildfire are sent on a secret mission to the 21st century. We're not sure what for, we'll find out later. And Mon-El and Shadowlass are sent to Oa in order to... They're supposed to take Ron's body to Oa, because apparently there is somebody there that they need to meet, and this person is a Daxamite, and they need to get this person's help, because Mon-El is a Daxamite as well, so this Daxamite might listen to them. And then Superman's like, you better, whatever you're planning to do, you better do it quick, because the Legion of Supervillains are all here, including Superboy Prime. So Superman and the Legion of Superheroes start fighting Superboy and the Legion of Supervillains. Brainiac does a little seance with this crystal ball, and all of a sudden, the crystal ball explodes, which was not supposed to happen. It blows up, and the Legion of Two Worlds burst from it. So now we have all three versions of the Legion of Superheroes coexisting in the same universe. They all come together, and Brainy tries to tell them what's going on, but because there are other Brainiac 5s in the crowd, they all start arguing with each other, which is a little bit funny. Superman's Legion and Superboy's Legion fight each other, with Superboy Prime telling Superman how much he's gonna mess up the Earth. He's like, now I'm gonna turn Metropolis and your stupid friends into ash. Then I'm gonna rip up your fortress and turn the North Pole into the hugest fire ever. And there'll be the 3 points of the S. I'm gonna burn into the Earth. The S is my symbol now, Superman. The Time Trapper is watching this all unfold. Mon-El and Shadowlass arrive on Oa with Ron's body, and they meet Sodam Yat face to face. He is revealed to be the person that is on Oa, and he says that he is the last of the Guardians of the Universe, and that he cannot help them. Why can't he help them? We will find out. Sodam Yat explains to Mon-El and Shadowlass why he can't help them. He was given the title Torchbearer by the previous Torchbearer, who I assume is Kyle Rayner, because he was like, oh, the previous Torchbearer gave me the title before he died. Kyle Rayner was the only other Green Lantern to ever have the name Torchbearer, because he was the last Green Lantern for a while, before Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, and John Stewart all became Green Lanterns again. The reason he can't help them recruit more Green Lanterns using Ron's ring or any other rings is because Mogo was the one, the planet Green Lantern. He was the one that would send rings to different people, and Mogo died many years ago. And Sodam Yat doesn't believe that he can choose the right people for the rings. And so he's willing to just leave it be. Sodam's like, you don't understand. I've had the power of Ion for so many years. It's given me immortality. I've lived with this immortality for years. When I fought Superboy Prime many years ago, he stabbed me with a lead pipe, and I've been using my ring to keep the lead from killing me. Can you imagine what it's like living all these years, not being able to do anything? And Mon-El was like, yeah, of course I do. I was stuck in the Phantom Zone for 1,000 years, so I completely understand you. But if you didn't want to do anything about this, why wouldn't you just take the ring off and let the lead finish you off? No, you clearly want to help people. You clearly want to make a difference. So do it. Allow yourself to make a difference. And that convinces Sodam to do things himself. Instead of leaving it up to other lanterns, he decides to take a whole bunch of rings. He absorbs all the rings and becomes incredibly... he becomes basically a one-man Green Lantern Corps. Like, the Green Lantern Corps will live again! So the assumption is that he's going to help them defeat Superboy Prime and then create a new core once Superboy Prime has been defeated. Meanwhile, Superman's Legion and Superboy's Legion fight each other. There's a whole lot of fighting that goes on in this issue, so here's a whole bunch of pictures of them fighting. We got this fight scene. We got this fight scene. We got that fight scene. And the Legion are trying to protect the humans that are in Metropolis, or the citizens in Metropolis, from Superboy Prime's wrath. The main part of the fight that's really worth talking about is Superman versus Superboy Prime. Superman is trying to convince Superboy Prime to redeem himself. It's like, get your hands off of me. Not until you hear me out, Clark. Don't call me that. It's your name. The name your parents gave you when they found you. Don't try and get sentimental. That's not my kryptonite, softy. You remember your parents, don't you? From what I know, they were as loving and supportive as my adoptive parents. And they weren't the only ones you cared about on Earth Prime, were they? You had a friend. A girl. Don't you talk about Laurie. She's dead. They're all dead. Your world was a fantasy on mine. I read about it. I loved it. I gave my Earth for it. But I want to go home and I never can. And if you could go home? Everything you've done? Clark, what would the people who gave you that name say? What would Laurie say? I told you to shut up about her. Superboy Prime just burns a hole straight into Superman's hand with his heat vision. And don't call me Clark, that's a geek name. And he punches Clark in the face, sending him flying. Superboy Prime rallies together some of his supervillains and is like, come with me, guys, let's destroy those Legion statues. And they start destroying all these statues. Superman's like, I can't defeat you, not without a little more help. It's like, help? What kind of? And that's when the other two Legions of Superheroes arrive. And so now we got 3 Legions of Superheroes, and they all start fighting the Legion of Supervillains and Superboy Prime. So here's some more fight scenes. We got this one, we got this fight scene, we got that fight scene. So many fight scenes, lots of fighting. In terms of actual plot progression, Brainy arrives and is like, hey, I need all of the lightning-powered Legion members to come with me, because I got a very important plan. Meanwhile, Polar Boy, Wildfire, and Dawnstar arrive in the 20th century, and you would think that the reason why they are there is so that they can meet with a young Clark Kent, aka Superboy. But they're not there to meet Superboy. They are there to meet a young Lex Luthor. Or not meet young Lex Luthor, but go to his room. And they go to his room, and Polar Boy is like, the reason why we're here is because this is the day that young Lex Luthor starts losing his hair. Because somehow that is really important. He grabs a piece of Lex Luthor's hair, which makes me wonder if they're going to clone him somehow. I don't know, I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Brainiac has recruited all of the Lightning heroes and XS, who is a Flash character. She is the cousin of Bart Allen, because her and Bart Allen are the children of Don and Dawn Allen, who are the children of Barry Allen and Iris West, that they had in the far future. When Barry Allen went into the far future, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, he had kids with Iris, Don and Dawn. And then Eobard Thawne tried to kill their kids, tried to kill Bart and XS, but they managed to get their kids to safety, and then Iris was able to watch Bart and XS grow up and become superheroes. But then at some point, time travel shit happened, and XS was wiped from history. So this is her now regaining her memories and realizing that she was born on the main Earth. It's really confusing. This is what happens when you have 3 Legion of Superheroes all be made canon at the same time. Brainy needs XS to run on the cosmic treadmill, and the Lightning characters are all going to power the Cosmic Treadmill, and the Legion of Superheroes are all fighting Superboy Prime, and then Superboy Prime hears that they're trying to bring somebody back with the Cosmic Treadmill, and he's like, no, I won't let them bring him back, and he just sends everybody flying, because they all grabbed onto him, and he just goes, and everyone goes flying. Then he grabs one of the Sun Boys and freezes his head and then smashes it, and another Sun Boy feels that one of them is dead. He just killed Sun Boy. And then Sodom Yat arrives, and he uses his abilities to capture Superboy Prime. He's like, you're under arrest for multiple counts of murder against Green Lantern Corps. And he's like, I thought I just killed the last Green Lantern. That's impossible. There can't be another one. Superboy Prime breaks out of Sodom Yat's construct. I'll do it, idiots. I'll stop them. Superboy manages to break into where Brainy and XS are. All of the Lightning characters are sent flying, but Superboy Prime is too late, because XS has succeeded in bringing back Bart Allen. Kid Flash. That is who she was trying to bring back the entire time. Bart Allen is back to life again. Maybe they'll explain how he's still alive. We'll find out. But yeah, Bart Allen's back. This is awesome. I guess he was trapped in the Speed Force. That's usually how they explain away Speedster's deaths. Before we move on to issue 4, I just wanted to quickly mention that the covers for the issues of Legion of Three Worlds that I'm reading are terrible. Look at this. 2/3 of the page are taken up by the words Final Crisis with just red blocks. And then in the middle, you got a strip that actually has the art on it. Like, whose idea was it to put it this way? It's awful. In the present day, Starman visits a grave in Metropolis. On the tombstone, there is the name Kent, and he begins digging the body up. I wonder which one it is. Meanwhile, in the 31st century, Superman faces Mordro and punches him straight in the face. And then they see the lightning coming out of the center that Brainiac and the Lightning characters are. Superman's like, oh, what the hell is going on? And we see that Bart Allen has been brought back, as we saw in the last issue, and he is beating the crap out of Superboy Prime. Just punch him in the face. You were totally freaking out. I was like, boo! And you were like, it's Bart Allen. It's the fastest boy alive. It's Kid Flash. Superboy Prime is really annoyed at him and fights back. XS fights alongside Bart and is happy to finally reunite with him. And then the Lightning characters all fight Superboy Prime as well. It is then explained how Bart Allen was brought back to life when he entered the Speed Force during Infinite Crisis and his age was accelerated to that of an adult. It's revealed that he had some kind of cancer where in a month's time he would have aged into an old man and died. So what happened was, when Bart Allen died as an adult, Brainiac 5 took his youth out of his adult body and stored it away, saving Bart's youth. And then his adult self died. And that's why Bart was reborn as a kid again. XS and Kid Flash create a lightning tornado around Superboy Prime, sending him flying through the ceiling of the building, while Brainiac asks for Gates and Lightning Lass's help to go north somewhere for the next stage of his plan. Sodom Yat helps XS and Kid Flash fight Superboy Prime, which is when Superman realizes that Bart Allen has come back to life, and then all of a sudden a massive hand comes out of a vortex and grabs Superman, Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl and pulls them into the rift. It's Time Trapper. He has pulled them into the end of time so that he can force them to watch all of their friends be killed by Superboy Prime while he kills them in the end of time. And so he starts fighting Superman, Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl, while Superboy Prime continues to fight the Legion A Legion member known as Kinetics tries to fight Superboy Prime, but he lasers her in the chest with his heat vision, and she explodes. But before she dies, she sees Leviathan. It's like, oh, Leviathan? Is that you? I think that's the god that she looks up to, and then she blows up and dies. Pretty brutal. Sunboy continues to hear about the death that is going on with the fight with Superboy Prime, and finally grabs his Legion ring, puts it on, and reignites his powers, because he's ready to return to the fight and help his friends. Things only get worse for Kinetics, because Mordru absorbs her essence, and now she's just going to be trapped within him forever, which is horrible. Element Lad turns the ground around Superboy Prime into kryptonite. Normally kryptonite doesn't affect him, but at the moment it is affecting him for some reason. Maybe it's because it's a very strong form of kryptonite that Element Lad has created. It's not really explained, but Superboy Prime gets really sick from the kryptonite, and he grabs one, he throws it, goes straight through Element Lad's chest, killing him. Superboy Prime is saved by Cosmic King, who is able to draw the kryptonite out of his body using his powers. Because Mordru has absorbed Kinetics' essence, he is able to see what the Legion are planning in the North Pole, so Superboy Prime decides to fly there and stop them. The rest of the Legion characters decide to chase after him, because they need to stop Superboy Prime from stopping Brainiac. Meanwhile, in the North Pole, Brainiac has arrived at the Fortress of Solitude. The reason he's here is because he's waiting for Polar Boy, Wildfire, and Dawnstar to arrive with the hair from Lex Luthor that they got when they traveled back to the 20th century. Many of our heroes attempt to stop Superboy Prime from making it to the Fortress of Solitude. We also discover that the reason why Brainiac came to the Fortress of Solitude was to get the hair, and then also open up the cryo chamber that Superman used in order to come back to life after he was killed by Doomsday. A body was placed into the cryo chamber over 1,000 years ago, the body that Starman had dug up. And with Lex Luthor's hair, Brainiac is hoping that they can resurrect this body, because whoever is in this is the key to defeating Superboy Prime. Unfortunately, before Brainiac can finish the sequence, he has to pull out a crystal, and he knows which one to pull out. But before he can do that, the ceiling crushes him, not killing him, just knocking him out, because Superboy Prime has arrived, and so now somebody else has to pull out the crystal instead. Polar Boy tells Wildfire and Dawnstar to deal with resurrecting the body, while he goes out and faces Superboy Prime and keeps him busy. So he goes out, he fights him, he uses his ice powers to try and freeze him, but unfortunately Superboy Prime is way too powerful. He blasts off Polar Boy's arm, causing his ring to fall off. Polar Boy falls to the ground, tries to grab his ring by creating another arm out of ice, but Superboy Prime steps on his ring. Superboy Prime picks up Polar Boy and starts mocking him, saying that he's really bad at being a hero and that he's one of the Legionnaire losers. He starts beating Polar Boy in the face and is ready to kill Polar Boy, but then Superboy Prime is blasted from behind by Sunboy, who has arrived to save one of his best friends. Meanwhile, Wildfire can't figure out which crystal to pull, and Dawnstar is able to help him, and the two use their love to figure out which crystal to pull. She places her hand on his hand, they pull out the crystal, the machine activates, and a massive white glow envelops everybody. Polar Boy and Sunboy are about to be killed by Superboy Prime when Wildstar and Dawnstar arrive, telling Superboy Prime that it's all over now because they succeeded in resurrecting Connor Kent, Superboy. He comes flying in, smashes Superboy Prime in the face. He is back, he is alive. Superman sees that Connor is alive. It's like, I don't know why, I don't know how, but this is awesome. Now we have a chance of actually winning. So he continues fighting the Time Trapper while Superboy fights Superboy Prime. Connor Kent rips apart Superboy Prime's shirt for story reasons, and so does Superman. He rips up Time Trapper's cloak. And this is when the big twist is revealed. Superboy Prime and Time Trapper are one in the same. Superboy Prime is Time Trapper, and he mocks them, saying that there is no way that they can win because he was there when they lost. This is a great page. George Perez did a really good job with the symmetry of these two characters who are supposed to be the same guy. It lines up really well. It's not easy to do. The fight between Superboy and Superboy Prime and Superman and the Time Trapper continues now that they know that both are the same and that there is a chance they will lose the fight. It's kind of rocked to everybody, but they're not going to give up. They never give up. Not when they got Soldum Yat on their side, who just comes in, creates a construct of the entire Green Lantern Corps and smashes straight into Superboy Prime. And then Bart Allen and Connor Kent are reunited after a long time. They were the two Titans that died. They were friends together on Young Justice. They've been friends for a long time, and now they finally reunite as Titans, smashing straight into Superboy Prime. Titans together! Superboy Prime tries to kill Dawnstar because she was partly responsible for bringing back Superboy, but Wildfire flies in the way. Superboy Prime punches him, and Wildfire explodes. Meanwhile, Mordru has absorbed the power of kinetics and is so powerful that he's starting to steal everybody's powers, and White Witch decides that she has to sacrifice herself in order to stop him. At first, everybody thinks that Wildfire is dead, but it's revealed that he has survived. His suit only just got punctured a little bit, so they quickly mend it up, and Dawnstar and Wildfire profess their love for each other and that they will never leave each other's side. We get a cool parallel of Superboy and Superman fighting Prime and Time Trapper at the same time. Superboy shoots Prime in the chest, ruining the S on his chest. He's like, oh my god, you just ruined my S, what have you done? And this is what makes Brainy realize that the Time Trapper is lying and that he doesn't know for sure if he's gonna win. He's seen one ending of a possible many. Cosmic Boy tells Lightning Lad to use his lightning abilities on their Legion rings so that Saturn Girl can send out a massive telepathic signal to every single Legionnaire. So what they do is they combine their powers, it turns Time Trapper into a magnetic pull for legions, and so all of the Legionnaires arrive. Every single Legionnaire arrives at the end of time to fight Time Trapper. Meanwhile, White Witch sacrifices herself by grabbing Mordru, speaking an incantation. She flies up into the air with him and explodes in a massive ball of energy, transforming her into the Black Witch, which is some kind of other personality that she has within her. So she has sacrificed her good side and become her chaotic good side. She's not evil, but she's also not great. Apparently, this is a very painful and traumatic form for her to be in. But taking down Mordru has turned the tides because everybody's got their powers back, so they're all able to fight against the Legion of Supervillains and defeat them. Meanwhile, the other legions all fight Time Trapper at the same time, just beating the absolute crap out of him because not even the Time Trapper can face hundreds of heroes at once. They knock him unconscious, and Brainy tells them to bring him to where he is, and that's when Time Trapper and Superboy Prime come face to face, and Time Trapper tries to convince Superboy Prime that they are the same, but Superboy Prime is so stupid, he's like, oh, I won't listen to you, old man, instead I'm just gonna punch you in the face, and Time Trapper is like, no! Superboy Prime punches Time Trapper, which in doing so, erases himself from history. So we see a really cool shot of Superboy Prime going from color to ink to pencil to like pre-pencil sketch. and then he just explodes and he's gone. And that's it. Superboy Prime and Time Trapper have been defeated. Everybody's happy, and we find out what happened to Superboy Prime because he's not dead. He's been sent back to Earth Prime, which is the Earth that he originally came from. He arrives in Earth Prime, he arrives at his home, and he reunites with his parents and Laurie, his girlfriend, but she runs away from him in terror because they've been reading about everything that he's done, because comic books exist in their universe. So they've been reading Legion of Three Worlds, Sinestro Corps. They probably had to read Countdown as well, so I feel really bad for them. They're just like, hey, son, we've read everything about you. We had to read 52 issues of Countdown because of you, so you're gonna have to pay us back for that. Meanwhile, everybody else's stories start to wrap up, or their lives begin to go in different directions. Sodom Yat finally gains the courage to send out all of his rings and find new Green Lanterns. Sunboy and Polar Boy return to being Legionnaires. Block feels guilty over White Witch having to transform herself into the Black Witch. We also have to deal with the fact that there are now 3 different versions of Legionnaires in the same world. So the way they explain what the other 2 Legionnaires are going to get up to is they are going to travel throughout the multiverse finding other lost Legionnaires and recruiting them. So that's what they're going to be busy doing. And we're probably never going to see them again. XS also decides to stay on this Earth so that she can reunite with not only her friends, but also so that she can become more familiar with the Earth that she originally came from. The 3 legions all chant, "Long live the Legion," as 2 of them are sent elsewhere in the multiverse. Also, Brainiac decides that it's time he finally got a haircut. He's like, yeah, now that this is all over, I can finally get a haircut, because that's what he cares about the most. And you know what? Good on him. He's earned it. Connor and Bart have a long-awaited reunion with the Titans and the Teen Titans, or their former friends, on Young Justice, Cassie, Tim Drake. And then we end with Superboy Prime on Earth Prime. His parents have become his slaves because he's still all-powerful. He's turned them into his slaves because he killed or did something horrible to Laurie off-screen or off-panel, and he will do the same to them if they don't do everything he asks, like make cheese toasties for him and stuff, while he is down in the basement reading comic books stating that they think they've gotten rid of him, but they will never get rid of Superboy Prime. And he has now become an online troll on the DC forums. And he's just going to be spouting shit about Superman and stuff, which is a really funny ending for Superboy Prime, that he's just become an online troll. I wish that this is where it ended for him, but this isn't where Superboy Prime's story ends, and he will eventually return in the future. But for now, that is the end of Legion of Three Worlds. Overall, I enjoyed the idea of the story. I just think that it was too long of a series. It didn't need to be a 5-part miniseries. It could have been 3 issues. There's a lot of filler that goes on in the book that they could have cut down on. But even though it is 5 issues, the book still somehow feels overstuffed. It's one of those weird situations where the book is too long and it's also too overstuffed. But it was definitely a great return to form for Superboy Prime. He's always fun to read when he's written by Jeff Johns. If he's written by anybody else, it sucks reading about him. But Jeff Johns knows the character. He kind of created the character. George Perez knows the character really well as well, because Superboy Prime was created during Crisis on Infinite Earths. Perez's art is the star of this miniseries. The only reason, or one of the few reasons to read this series, is for his incredible art that you get throughout the entire series. Obviously, if you really care and like about the Legion of Superheroes, then you will probably love this because there's tons of references and cameos. But if you don't care about them as much, like I don't care about the Legion of Superheroes very much, so for me, the series was fine. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. This is definitely made for Legion fans and only Legion fans. It's funny that this is a Final Crisis spin-off, even though it has nothing to do with Final Crisis. They don't even explain in the main Final Crisis series that Superman at one point just was in this book. You're telling me that Superman saved the entire multiverse and also stopped Superboy Prime, 2 versions of Superboy Prime alongside the Legion of Superheroes, and still had time to come back to Earth and confront Darkseid and defeat him as well? It's a little bit messy. But that's it for this week's video. If you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe. Next week, we will be checking out the Final Crisis spin-off, Final Crisis Revelations. I've said Final Crisis like 5 times in a row now. Have a good one.